Hey y'all, this is the Flipflop Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Leah Thrapp, an entrepreneur who turned my love of travel into a career. Travel is not just a hobby, it's a way of life. Making it happen can be tough. I'm here to offer practical advice to make travel more achievable. This isn't just about my journey, it's about inspiring you to pursue adventure and explore the world on your terms. Hello, and welcome to the Flipflop Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Leah Thrapp, and I am here with Haley Cottey with Explore More. Welcome, Haley.
Hi, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
We appreciate you being here. We're super excited to hear your story. I saw on Facebook you talking about your business and your app, and I wanted to learn more. So tell me a little bit about it and how you guys got started.
Sure. So I own Explore More DFW, or just exploremore.fun. is our website, but we basically just try to find fun ways to get people outside, like however they prefer. And we usually are trying to get people who maybe wouldn't go outside on their own.
I love that.
And so we do that through we call them our backyard events. So we have like hikes, hiking yogas. We train people who maybe want to guide hikes. And then we do some different games and activities and stuff like that.
That sounds awesome. So were you always into hiking? Has this been like a lifelong passion or?
Yes.
Okay. Are you from Texas?
Yes, I am. I grew up like an hour east of Dallas. I grew up in the country. So, I grew up exploring the woods behind my house, but I just remember from a very, very young age, daydreaming about like exploring the jungle and going and like trying to figure out how to live off the land. I've done one big backpacking trip and then I've done a bunch of small backpacking trips, but I've never like gone and actually explored the jungle. But from like a young age, I just would dream about that. And then as I grew up and like went off to college, I realized a lot of people didn't grow up with that much land accessible to them, or just with that desire or ability to go out and just explore the woods and find different plants and find different critters and bugs and learn how to garden and all those things that I got to do. And so I just realized a lot of people didn't do that. Or they just thought that they had to go to a national park or they had to go on a big vacation up to Colorado in order to get that nature fix. And so I was like, there's lots of spaces right here in Dallas, spaces that I don't even take advantage of that I should. Right. And so I was like, how could we get people to take advantage of these like little nature preserves or these trails that are all over the Metroplex, or go kayaking on the lakes that are everywhere? How do we get people to tap into that childhood wonder and want to go explore, like as if they're exploring a never before seen patch of jungle that no human has ever touched before, which I don't even know if those exist anymore, but like that sense of wonder.
Yeah, I love that. I think that that's really a great thing, because I also am from the DFW area, and I think there's just so many ways to make every day an adventure. I think people look at people who travel a lot and think like, oh, must be nice, but not all of us can do that, but there's a lot of ways to make a Saturday adventure close to home. And especially in this area, there's so much to do. There's so many options. So for me, I love to go to like festivals and go to restaurants to try new foods and things like that. But there's just all these different ways to explore in your backyard. And I think that sometimes when you haven't done it before and you're interested in it, it feels really intimidating. So like if you've never gone hiking before, you think like, what do I need? How do I start? So I love that you guys are sharing a way for people to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
How old are your kids now?
7 and 5.
7 and 5. Okay. So do you guys hike with them?
Both girls. Yes. My 7-year-old has always loved it. She was hiking almost 2 miles before she was 2 years old. And so she's always loved it. My 5-year-old has not taken to it as easily. And so we've had to get creative. And a lot of the times our hikes are only like less than half a mile. But I really do think that it's all about just consistency and just trying and like making it fun. And so I've gotten lots of different tools to do that, whether we play pretend or we bring like a scavenger hunt or a game, or we play hide and seek, or I pretend I see a bunny whenever she starts whining.
That's awesome.
Like, I saw a bunny, go find it. And that'll distract her for like maybe a couple minutes. And then we go with friends a lot. And I have noticed that like if I can get my friends to go with us who also have kids, then the kids make it a lot longer before they start whining about being tired or hungry or thirsty or hot or cold or whatever. Kids just don't like to be uncomfortable. And I mean, that's one thing I've learned is like some kids are different. So some are a little bit more resilient, but kids just don't like being uncomfortable, and hiking makes you uncomfortable. Very rarely are the conditions perfect for like a good hike. And so I do believe that learning how to be uncomfortable is a skill that is being lost. But I also don't want to push my kids so much to the point that they grow to resent hiking. Right. Like I remember my mom would tell me she grew up, the only vacation they did was they went to the lake, and she hated it. And now she still hates going to the lake. And I'm like, I don't want my kids to hate hiking. So I try to make it fun. And if they really just aren't having it, we just leave. Yeah. I'm not going to force them to do it. I'm not going to force them to like it, because that's just going to have a reverse effect.
Yeah, it's going to backfire.
And so we just do it consistently, and we take friends when possible, and we play games when possible, and we hold her. I don't tell her, like, if she's wants to be held, we just hold her, and me and my husband take turns. I remember we were in Colorado, and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law went with us. So we at least had 4 adults to 2 kids, which helped distract at least the 7-year-old because she was excited to be with her uncle. But my husband ended up carrying one of the kids at least for over 3 miles. And so I was just like, I think I carried him for maybe half a mile total. Mm-hmm. But he had a child either on his hip or on his shoulders, or was holding them almost the whole time. And so, but it was either that or we were dragging a crying kid up the mountain. So
totally.
I was like, I would rather make this a good experience than not. And sometimes that means it's not always fun for me because we're carrying a child and it hurts and they're heavy. Mm-hmm. They're too big to fit in the backpacks anymore. But they are growing to like it more. And especially like the mountains, because they have seen them enough, but not too much to not be impressed anymore. And so, they do better, but I think it's just about having realistic expectations. I've had people tell me my kids will definitely hike. And I'm like, do you have kids yet? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay. So like, come back to me after you have kids.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that is really a key to traveling with kids, period, is being flexible and having the expectation that you might have to adjust your plans, and you might have to shorten them, or you have to take more breaks, or eat constant snacks and bring an entire backpack that only holds snacks, that kind of thing. You just have to accept that if you're going to take kids to do these things, that, kids have their own agenda. And I have to say, I don't really blame them, because we have a joke in our family. My husband loves to hike. He loves to take backpacking trips and sleep on the trail. And I think it sounds like no fun at all. And I'm totally out on it. So he'll ask me sometimes when we're on vacation, do you want to go on this hike? And I'll say, is it a hike or a walk? Because if it's a hike, I'm out. If it's a walk, yes. So if I have to change out of flip-flops or my hiking sandals, then I don't want to go. But if I can wear my hiking sandals, then sure. So I think
sounds like my father and mother-in-law.
You have to find a way.
My mother-in-law, she's such a trooper. She went backpacking with my father-in-law once, because he's a big backpacker, and me and my husband are big backpackers, but my mother-in-law's not. But she did go with him on she was doing a section of the Colorado Trail. I think she made it 2 or 3 nights, and she ended up injuring her foot. So she went out at the next trailhead, but she bought him a shirt for Christmas. I won't say it all because it has a curse word on the shirt, but it basically says, Kurt, you're a liar. Because every time she would ask him, like, how much longer? He'd be like, 1 mile. And it was like 5.
Oh, yeah. Right.
But she did great. And she said she would go back with him this summer. So I don't know if she actually will or not. We'll see.
Wow. She's nicer than me.
So it's one of those type 2 fun things.
Oh, yes. My husband loves to explain type 2 fun. He's like, it's type 2 fun. I'm like, I don't really know if I believe in that philosophy. We were in Africa last year, and we went on a safari, but we landed to start our safari in Tanzania at Mount Kilimanjaro airport. So we flew right by the mountain.
Oh, cool.
So they put in our itinerary, since they knew my husband loved hiking, they put our itinerary. They said, we're going to take you for a walk on Kilimanjaro. And I was like, what does that mean? And they said, well, we'll drive you up to the highest point the cars can go, and then you can get out and have a walk, and then you'll go back. So in my mind, this is like a 20-minute activity, right? Like, we're going to get out and we're going to take a picture and say, like, I stood on Mount Kilimanjaro, like, good for me, and I'm going to get back in the car. So then they're like, okay, your Sherpas are going to come and they're going to tell you all about your day tomorrow. And I was thinking, like, what do we need to talk about? Like, what do I have to do to prepare? We're just riding in the car, right? And my husband had forced me to buy like actual tennis shoes before the trip. And we like argued about it in DSW because I said I didn't need them. I was just going to wear my Tevas. And so then the Sherpas come and they sit down with us. There's like 2 guys and they're like, okay, So we're going to come at 7:30 in the morning. We're going to get you and we'll carry all your water. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Excuse me. What are you talking about? Like, aren't we just taking a picture like by the sign and getting back in the car? And they're like, no, you're hiking to base camp. And I was like, I don't think that I am. I definitely did not know about this. And so at the time, my baby was 2 and my oldest was like 9, I think. And so I was like,
And they were with you?
Sign up for this. They were with us, yes. And I was like, I definitely did not sign up for this. I did not know this is what I was doing. I seriously thought I was like getting a photo op. And so, but my husband and my son are excited. They do trail life and they do camping and stuff. So they were excited. And I didn't want to be the party pooper. So I was like, the baby and I can just stay at the hotel. You guys just go. Like, we're fine. And everybody's like, no, it's fine. We're going to help you. And my husband's like, come, please come. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's fine. So we go to Kilimanjaro. We get up to the, highest point that they can drive us. And they start hiking. And they say it's like a 3-hour hike there and a 3-hour hike back. But again, with 2 little kids. And so we get halfway to base camp and my pinkies started going numb. And I was like, should I be worried that my pinkies are numb? And my husband's like, I don't know. Ask the Sherpa guy. So I asked him and he was like, oh, that's altitude. But don't worry. The cure is to go back down. It'll be fine in a few hours when we go back. And I was like, I don't really think that I want to do that. Like the baby can't tell us if she's feeling anything. So I was like, if I'm feeling things, I don't know what she's feeling. And so I was like, how about I'll just like chill here in this little plateau while you guys keep going and like eat my lunch that I have and we'll be fine. And they're like, we're not allowed to leave you here. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be the party pooper. And they're like, you can make it, you'll be fine. And I said, I'm totally sure I can make it there. My problem is that once I make it there, I have to make it all the way back with the baby. They ended up, luckily that's why they sent 2 Sherpas. So they ended up saying one Sherpa would take me back to the parking lot and my husband and son kept going. So the Sherpa took the ergo carrier from my husband and strapped the baby on. And I have a really funny video of them. He's like bouncing her and singing to her because she's like whining and fussing. She probably didn't feel good. And so he's singing to her and we're walking back. And so we just walked super slow back and they hiked all the way to base camp. And my son was the only kid there. So all the Sherpas were really impressed when they saw him. And when we got back to the parking lot, we watched an expedition getting ready to go out to summit. And that was really cool to watch. They basically like bring beds and couches and a whole kitchen, to help people go all the way to summit, like in a very luxurious way. And so it was fun to watch them. And then my husband and son came back and they had a great time. It was a great story, but I definitely did not know that I was signing up to hike even halfway to base camp 1 on Kilimanjaro. So that was a really crazy adventure.
That's especially with a baby. That's scary.
Yeah. I mean, it was honestly...
Well, y'all are troopers.
I honestly could have worn my Tevas the whole time. It wasn't a hard walk at all for that first section all the way to base camp. Was totally fine, they said. But I took those tennis shoes and actually a couple weeks ago we were cleaning out like our shoes. The hotel we stayed in had like a stained concrete floor and it kind of tinted our socks green. When my husband picked up those tennis shoes that he made me buy, he took the socks out of them and they were the same socks I wore for that 2 hours on Kilimanjaro because I still haven't worn those shoes since then. So apparently I did not really need new tennis shoes. Like I said, I didn't because I was never going to wear them again. But it was a fun adventure and now I can say I've hiked on Mount Kilimanjaro and checked it off my bucket list. And that's probably the only big hike I really need to do.
Exactly. That's hilarious. That's it. I was just saying kids are resilient, but I don't know that altitude with the baby would scare me too.
Yeah. It made me nervous. I was just like, she's not old enough to tell me what she's feeling, if she's a headache or whatever. She's having shortness of breath.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I saw that you guys talked about people saying, take me with you on your hikes. So was that part of the inspiration for the creation of your company?
Yes. Part of the inspiration for the trainings. So so first we started out with, I called them hike and brews. So me and my husband really like craft beer. And so we love going to breweries all over DFW whenever we're on vacation, stuff like that. And so we started doing hike and brews. So we would meet at like a local trail. We'd charge like $10 or $15. And I would take people on a guided hike anywhere from like 3 to 6 miles. And then they would get a beer token to the brewery that's close by. And so that was really fun. And then I got my yoga certification. So we started adding in yoga. And so now we do hike and yogas. Our values are fun, freedom, and discovery. And so for me, it was like, I loved the yoga and like the being quiet because as a mom, it was like, this was some of the only time that I had that I wasn't looking at my phone. I wasn't having 50 different things trying to get my attention. I could just be quiet and I could just focus on hiking. I could focus on yoga. I could talk to other people or not talk to other people. And it was just really healing and relaxing. And so we've since pivoted from that. We still do hike and yogas a lot, But I started having yoga instructors asking me how they could do it. And so we created a nature yoga certification program. Awesome. And so now we certify yoga instructors in nature yoga. And that, what we mean by that is like, we want them to actually make a yoga class that's outside unique, not just like the same class you would do inside, but you do it outside. And so we teach them about forest bathing. We teach them about grounding. We teach them about leave no trace. We teach them about the science behind different types of ecosystems and like what the benefits are from them. And so we just kind of started doing all of that and then started doing games. We have a couple of trail games that we've put together. And then we started doing the trail bingo cards, just trying to find fun ways to get people to go explore new trails. Because some people were like, I don't want to hike with other people. I like to hike by myself. I'm like, great. Right. There's still trails that you've probably never seen before. And so just started making, like, that was the biggest question I would get from people is either take me with you or where do I go? And so and we also started I did backpacking workshops, which I'm now thinking about filming and putting on our website because that would be easier for people to watch than people meet me at a trail because they can't always do that. And there's a couple of beginner backpacking trails close by too that people don't know about. So we just kind of had started doing the training and the guided hikes just for people who don't really want to go by themselves or don't feel comfortable. I mean, I even get people who don't want to go to the local trails because they're scared of getting lost or of snakes or poison ivy or bikers, like because so many of the trails in Dallas are managed by Dorba, which is like the off-road biking association. And so people get scared to hike a trail that mountain bikers also use, which I mean, I get because mountain bikers are fast, but they're also very kind and respectful. So it's like if you follow the signs, which usually most of those trails, the hikers go one direction and the bikers go a different direction, then you see the bikers coming towards you. And so all you do is step aside. I mean, I don't see why we can't share the trails. But even if people don't want to share the trails, there's other trails that bikers don't use. So
I think that's awesome.
Just all that information, just trying to get people out.
I had a really similar experience with starting my company because we traveled as a family all the time and we were going exploring and doing a lot of off the beaten path things. And I was a travel agent at the time. And so my clients were following me on social media and they would say, hey, next time I'm going to come with you. Like, tell me how to go. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. Like, I don't know if I'm just going to take random people on my family vacation. I don't know how that could work, you know? So, but after enough people said it, that's when we started my tour company. And I was like, okay, well, here's something you can come with me on. And I created it for you and not for my family, you know? So it was a really fun way to stumble into a fun job that could be my career now. So I love that that's how you guys did it too.
That's awesome.
I was going to tell you, when your kids are still small, you should totally take them to Ireland to do some hikes. Because in Ireland, they have these fairy trails for kids that are super fun. So I think it would keep your 5-year-old engaged. They have like little scavenger hunts. Some of them give you a book at the beginning and there's clues along the way. And as you're going through the trail, you're looking for things. And there's all these cute little hidden, like little ladders or swing sets or laundry for the fairies, you know, hidden in the trees or on the grass. And it totally keeps the kids engaged. They always love it on my Ireland trips.
I did not know about the fairy trails, but we did go to Ireland last summer. And the girls still talk about it. Like,
it's such a
because I told them, I was like, we're going to the land of unicorns and fairies. And they're like, what? They got so excited. And my sister bought them. My sister's a photographer. And so she bought them princess dresses and crowns and wands and stuff. And she did a whole photo shoot with them at a castle. And so
fun.
it's super cool. But yeah, we did a lot of hikes. We did a lot on that trip. It was super fun. And they still talk about it. They're like, when are we going to go back?
It's a great place to go with family.
And my mom is hiking in Scotland right now. And so she keeps sending us pictures. She's like, we have to come back here. And we're like, okay, next summer. So I'm like, we have a year. We have a year for me and my sisters to like save up. And we actually know people in Scotland. We didn't know anybody in Ireland. So we're like, okay, we have people we can visit and stay with. Like we could make this a much cheaper trip. So that is a goal next year, is to go to Scotland.
Yeah, there's some gorgeous places to hike in Scotland. That is somewhere that's one of the most unspoiled areas, like you were talking about, that aren't altered very much by people. There's a lot of really beautiful spots that are not spoiled. But when you go over there, try to pop over to Dublin for a couple of days and do a couple of the fairy trails with your girls because they would love it. So do it while they're still small.
I will.
That'd be super fun.
That's a good idea.
I know that you also shared about living life wishing to be elsewhere, and that was kind of one of the things that you're trying to accomplish, is finding a way to find the things you're wishing for close to home. So can you expound on that a little?
Yes. I am a mountain child at heart. I feel like my heart belongs in the Rockies, whether that's Colorado or Wyoming or Idaho. We went to Idaho last winter to go skiing, and it was amazing. But me and my husband both are like that. I mean, we met and we immediately bonded over backpacking because we'd both done it in the Rockies, and you don't meet a lot of people in Texas who've done that,
right,
like extended trips. And so since we met, we were like, okay, we're going to move to the mountains. We're going to move to the mountains. And it just hasn't happened yet. And whenever we felt like there was an opening, we would pray about it, and we didn't feel like God was releasing us to do that. And then I was like, okay, well, now we have kids. And I knew as soon as we had kids, it would get exponentially harder because his family lives in Allen, mine live in Greenville. And so it's like both of our families are here in DFW, and we're the only ones with kids. And so between aunts and uncles and grandparents, it's like we have all the babysitters we need. And I'm not just going to walk away from that. And so we haven't yet. And we've been married 11 years now, and we're still in Dallas. So that was something I still struggle with. Like, it'll come and go. And summer is always really bad because I hate the heat. And so I always get really depressed and like want to, in fact, we're leaving next week and we're going to spend like a whole month in Colorado. But,
oh, nice.
But I still it was a mental challenge and exercise for me to try and be happy where I am instead of always wishing I was somewhere else, and something I still have to do. But whenever I do go explore the trails around DFW, I'm like, just getting outside in general just helps me be more present when my natural tendency is to be so future focused. And so I don't know how much you know about personalities or Enneagrams or anything like that, but I'm definitely a future focused person.
Okay.
And so it takes a little bit of effort for me to be present in my present time. So hiking helps me with that, and just getting outside in general helps me with that, and just finding the fun stuff to do here. Like we have started doing, and this is something we've done as a family, but we may start making it like on the app or something. We will do like Saturday daycations where we will try to find somewhere within like a 2-hour radius that has a couple different activities. So we've done Tyler, we've done Denton, we've done Waco, and we just try to go and we try to find something outdoorsy, something educational, and then we usually end it at a brewery. And so we've just done it as a family. Our kids love it. If there's a zoo, we go to the zoo. If there's a state park, we go hiking. And so we took them to see the mammoths in Waco. I don't think that they were nearly as impressed as we were, but they loved digging around in the dirt back at the front because they have like a whole kids section where they got to like dig for fossils. So they liked that.
We call them mini adventures. Where you just go somewhere a little far away, but get outside of your like everyday routine and get exposed to something different. And I think that is for people that have like that wanderlust, it's a really good fix for whenever you can't be the place that you're wishing to go, but you can find a way to just experience something totally new, and you feel refreshed by it, even if it's only an hour or two away from home. Yeah, we even have a nature preserve in Rockwall that's like less than a mile. It's like just like a little loop, but it's in the trees, it's in the woods. And I'll even have days where I'm like, I just need to go there and just walk the loop. And if I just walk the loop, and if I walk real slow, I take like 20-30 minutes, I always feel better by the time I'm done. Just something about being in the trees. It's like, yes, it's not mountains, but it's still nature. Yeah. And it's still enough for me to like recenter and refocus and be happy with where I am in this season. I enjoy that so much. In our old house, we had like a little nature trail loop like that. And I would love to take walks on there, because even though it was the same trail every day, different things were happening. You'd come across a chipmunk, or, sometimes it's like, oh, the creek is up or the creek is down or whatever. And it was interesting, but now we don't have that in our neighborhood. And when I walk the neighborhood, I'm so bored. Like I just yawn. Like I'm so bored by walking my neighborhood loop. So it's interesting that it was a loop in my neighborhood that I used to walk all the time, but somehow the nature part of it just made a huge difference in how refreshing and interesting.
There's probably a nature preserve near you. There's probably something near you, that even if it's a little bit of a drive.
Yeah, there is some, but that just requires you to plan and take time.
Yeah.
So I
have that too. Where I'm like, okay, I need to go for a walk.
Yeah.
But there is also something beautiful about having the spot. And I did learn that as a kid, because I knew the woods behind my house so well. Like I knew every tree, everything, because that's where I would go play every day. And so there is something very powerful about having those spaces that you know really well, that you walk all the time, you know all the space. And so besides always having to go somewhere new. And so there's room for both, for sure. There's a book called, I can't see it, I think it's called How to Raise a Wild Child. It's like, I think it's on my bookshelf over there, but he talks about a sit spot. Have you ever heard of a sit spot?
No.
So it's like he says everybody needs to have a sit spot, and it's a spot where, whether it's on your back porch or front porch, or it's a bench at your favorite park or whatever. Or he said his was like a tree trunk in his backyard. And so he's like, you should have a sit spot somewhere where you can sit and you can just study the surroundings to the point where you know everything within, like, and you know what those surroundings look like in every season. You notice if a tree lost a branch, or if there's a new bird's nest in a bush or something. And so like you have, like, that is your spot. Like you have the entire surroundings memorized. And it was just beautiful. Like my mom has that on her front porch. She has like the old school swinging porch, like, and it's beautiful. And like we sit there all the time, all of us. And I'm like, I look around and I'm like, oh, this is like the most familiar place, but looking at it in every single season is really cool.
I love that idea. Yeah. I think that definitely would help you to be present if you have somewhere that is so familiar, and that you actually take the time to notice. Because I think we rush around so much in our culture and society that you just stop noticing things, and then sometimes it just totally surprises you when something changes, but it might have been changing gradually. And it's nice to watch, like when the bird's nest is being made, instead of all of a sudden realizing there's hatched eggs in there, and it's like, how long has that been there? I didn't even know that they built one on my front porch, or whatever it is. So I love that idea.
Yes.
Well, tell us how we can find you, and tell us a little bit more about, you've mentioned travel bingo, or the trail bingo, sorry. Tell me about trail bingo and how it works and how people can participate.
Yeah. So I don't really remember how it started. I may have just done it one day, but I was like, how can I get people to explore trails within Dallas or whatever city they're in without them having to buy tickets or go to a guided event or anything like that? Whether it's like they don't want to hike with other people, or they didn't want to spend money or whatever, or it like never fits their calendar when the events are. It's like, how do I get them to go out and explore? And so I, as an Enneagram 3, I love checking things off. And I'm a member of this like online yoga studio, and they just launched pilgrimages every month. And so like every month they will curate these pilgrimages, and if you check them all off, you get points, and you can cash those points out for different things. And I do way more yoga now because I get to check it off the list. And I was like, oh, this works. And so, yes. And so I made a bingo card with local trails. And I've made a couple because there's so many in Dallas. And so I've made a Dallas one, a Denton one, a Fort Worth one. I made a paved trails one for like whenever the trails are closed after rain or something, or you have a stroller or a wheelchair or whatever. And so to make it more accessible, I made a Dorba specific card.
A walk and not a hike.
Yeah. Yes. And so I made all these different trail bingo cards. And for a while I was just selling them on the website as a PDF, and for like $2, $3, $4. And so, and if you got a blackout, you got a prize. So if you got a blackout, you got a prize, and you just had to email me and say, hey, you got a blackout. And so I didn't market it a whole lot, but I sold like over 50 of them. And then my husband was like, this would make a really cool app. And I was like, no, that'd be perfect, because one of the biggest things I wanted to be able to see on a map where all these trails were. Because I was sick of reading articles that were like top 5 places to hike in Dallas. And it just had a bunch of names, but it didn't tell you where they were. You had to look them up. You had to say, oh, this one's an hour and a half away from me. And so on the app, you can actually open a map for each card, and it shows you where all the trails on that card are. And so if you like, I had a meeting in Little Elm one time. And so I went to one of the trails on the card that was in Little Elm, but I would have never known that trail was in Little Elm because it was called something different. I don't even remember at the moment. So we turned it into an app just to kind of see, and we were like, oh, this is gonna be so simple. All it is a bingo card. All they have to do is click on the card, check in if they're at the trail, and that's it. Like, there's nothing else really special about the app at the moment. It still took like 6 months to build. Apps are so hard, but our developer's amazing. He's actually in Frisco, so he's been super helpful. And we have lots we want to do with the card. Like, we're gonna have leaderboards and prizes, and like whenever you get bingo, you could get a prize. When you get a blackout of a card, you'll get a prize. And then we will probably start in the fall doing like 24-hour challenges, where it's like we have a whole special card that is only released for 24 hours. And whoever gets like the most checked off that card or gets a blackout, get some kind of prize, there'll be an after party. It'd basically be like a race, but not a marathon or anything. It would just be like, hey, drive around Dallas and go explore all these places. So we have lots we want to do with it. We want to do action-based cards that maybe aren't location specific, but just like, hey, go try rock climbing. And when you try it, mark that box off. I'm trying to get people to try new things. But yeah. And the goal is to just get people out to rediscover new or trails maybe they've already been to, and then discover old trails or like discover new trails that maybe they've never been to before. It's also fun as a family.
Yeah, the family ideas you have and then the little Saturday adventures and stuff, I think people are going to love that. So if people want to follow along and check out your app and check for updates of what you guys have coming up for new programs, where can they find you?
Yeah, of course. So the app is called Trail Bingo or Trail Bingo by Explore More. You can find it on either on Apple or Google. And we have a bunch of Texas cities. Like, it's not just Dallas. We have bingo cards for Austin, Houston, College Station, Denton, all over the place. And then we're adding other states very soon. So go ahead and download it now. You'll get notified as we add new cards. I just added one yesterday with activities, like adventure activities with high ropes courses and archery classes and craft classes and stuff like that. And then on Instagram, it's exploremore.fun. Our website is also exploremore.fun, and Facebook is exploremore DFW.
Okay, well, thanks so much for being here, Haley. I really loved talking to you, and I'm excited about all of your upcoming developments. So I'm going to follow along and hopefully join some activities with my family. So thanks again for being here, and make sure you go check out Explore More. And happy adventuring. Thanks for being part of the Flipflop Experience. Make sure to subscribe and follow on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Flipflops and Adventures.